Okay, so what exactly do you teach?
All right. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Miranda for asking us these questions and getting in touch with us. And one other thing I wanted to tell the children there in Somerville, Texas, is that I actually grew up in a city called Somerville, but it was in Massachusetts. So hello to all you there in Somerville. That's also the town where I grew up. So in terms of what I teach a class called Marine Ecosystem Dynamics, and I also teach a class on plankton ecology. So marine ecosystem dynamics is really trying to explain how all the different components in the ocean ecosystem work. So we do everything, try to understand all the different parts, how the waves and all the physical energies of the ocean interact with the living things in the ocean. So it's a very broad class. But my research specialty is with plankton, and so I also teach a class on plankton ecology.
So what made you want to teach this curriculum?
Well, I've always been interested in the oceans, and in particular trying to understand, what sort of factors affect the types of creatures that live in different parts of the ocean. So that's really the study of ecology. So that's why I've been interested in studying both the sort of broader marine ecology, as well as for the group of organisms that I study to understand the ecology of the planktonic organisms. So again, it's just basically related to my research interests as well as just my own interests.
Okay, what's your level of degree, and how many years did it take you to get there?
Okay, well, you may not be thrilled to hear this, but I've spent a lot of time in college, so it's 4 years for me to get a bachelor's degree in biology. Then I went on and got a master's degree in zoology, so that was another 2 years. And then I got a PhD or a doctorate in oceanography, and that was another 4 years. So 10 years of university was what I have experienced so far.
So what classes does someone need to take to become a marine biologist?
Well, so you can become a marine biologist with several different levels of education. So just the fact that I had 10 years of university doesn't mean you need 10 years of university to become a marine biologist. So if you were to become a marine biologist after you're getting your bachelor's degree, which is of course also possible, you'd have to take some basic science. So typically we expect the students to have some chemistry, some physics, and then biology. And again, depending upon what specialization you wanted to go into, but I guess the question was marine biology, so you'd want to be have a number of biology classes. So probably the best thing to do would be to be a biology major or a marine biology major. But again, those are the basic science classes that you would need.
Okay, so what is your favorite part of your job?
The favorite part of my job is the fact that I'm always learning new things. So I think the really exciting thing about being a scientist and a teacher at the university level is that, it never gets boring. You're always learning new things. So you're not just doing the same thing over and over again. You're always doing something different. I'm always doing something that interests me. So as a young person, like you all out there, I was always very interested in animals. I always loved being around the water, and so I'm doing the types of things that always interested me, and I'm always learning something new.
Are there any requirements someone needs to have before thinking about becoming a marine biologist?
Not before. So you would start your training for becoming a marine biologist at the university level. So we already talked a little bit about the classes that would be involved. There's really no other requirements beyond that. I would say the most important requirement is that you have a really strong interest in nature, and that's the way I was as a young person. I just always loved the time I spent at the beach, and I'd always be looking under the rocks to see what kind of creatures were there, or going out with my mask and snorkel and just looking at the fish. So if that's the kind of thing you like to do, and you have a really strong interest in biology and nature, then I think that's the only requirement. Then go to university and take the classes you need to become a marine biologist.
What are some fun facts about being a marine biologist?
Well, I think one of the things I've enjoyed the most is that when I think about the kind of places I would want to go on vacation, what I would want to do if I had the money to travel in different parts of the world, I've gotten to do those for my job. So for example, I've spent a lot of time on the coral reefs in Belize doing research. I've been to the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. So a lot of the places that my job needs me to go and people pay me to go there are things that I would really want to do if I wasn't a marine biologist. So I think that's really one of the fun things, is you get to travel to, again, for me, I just am really interested in nature. So the fact that I get to go really interesting places and observe nature in it while I'm doing my job, I think that's something that has been really fun for me.
Advice you'd give some high schoolers for going into the field of marine biology?
So one thing I would say, you want to think about what your final goal is. Do you want to be, so if you get a bachelor's degree in marine science, that'll allow you to sort of help with research. If you want to be a person who's sort of in charge of research, you probably need to get a graduate degree, either a master's or a PhD. So that's something to think about, just sort of what level you want to get involved in. And then I think the other thing, one thing I guess to be aware of it, you think about going to university for that long. One thing about science graduate education is that typically students actually get paid to go to college. So most of those costs are covered. So to go undergraduate education, typically you're paying for it or you get scholarships. But for graduate school, typically that money, you're actually get a small amount of money to live on, as well as you get your tuition paid and so on. So it really you don't run into a lot more debt or have your parents have to pay for your education after that. So that's one good thing. I mean, you're not going to get rich in graduate school, but at least you won't be, you don't have to really pay for it. So